some of the other commandments that are given, not to steal or not to kill or to covet or to cover the neighbor's wife. But here in this fifth commandment rests a blessing. Not only a blessing, but here rests the first promise given in Scripture that if one is to honor father and mother, we're gonna focus on mother today, but that there is an order, father and mother, that individual qualifies for a blessing of long life, to live a long life as a reward and as a payoff for honoring mother. This is a tremendous promise and a tremendous thought. And the most of us have missed this particular promise because it is a double promise. Now, this whole book of Proverbs is a book of godly principles. Proverbs, a book of godly principles. And anyone who applies the principles can receive and get the ultimate outcome. All right? And see, that's what Corey has done. That's what Kimberly has done. They have matriculated. They put the work in. That's what Mariah did. They put the work in, and at the end of the term, someone reviewed the whole transcript and simply said that you have checked every box, and so now I must bestow on you this reward. And so it is the same in this journey that God gives to the children, and he commands. He doesn't ask them, but he commands them to love father and mother. All right? It is not a suggestion, but it is a commandment. And it lets me know, Trustee Marcia, that he puts a lot of weight on this, that the children would honor mother. Now, let me define mother. Mother, first of all, is a female parent. Y'all looking at me kind of cross-eyed, but this is the book that I'm coming out of. This book right here. Church has gotten away from this book, and so I don't know how church can be church if it doesn't go by this book. Amen. But I'm gonna stay in this book right here. And so mother is that nurturing female parent, and sometimes this title is bestowed upon a elderly woman, not every woman, but a elderly woman, and it has very little to do with if she has biological children. And so that's why I know that it is a double gift. It is not just a physical gift, but it's a spiritual gift to be able to nurture others in the world. Just this week, I was on a field trip with Kali at the North Carolina Zoo, and I, being the military person that I am, an elder knows this. I had everything that you could imagine in my backpack. for him, and me, lunch and snack and all of these kinds of things, Jaden, I had in my backpack. And so we were divided up in groups, and I guess I was chaperoning a couple other people, and there were some other people in our group, some other parents that were in our group. And so I noticed this lady from New Jersey, New Jersey folk. She was in our group, and it was the first time I had met her, and I already knew her son because I'm at the school quite frequently. And Jamari is one of the most respectful 6-year-olders that I have met in a long time. And so I speak to Jamari every day, when I'm picking Kali up. And so I finally met Jamari's mother, who's from New Jersey. And so things were going on, and we visit some of the animal exhibits, and now we in the kid zone, and they're playing and blowing bubbles, and I don't know, something happened to Kali, and I was trying to comfort him, and he was fine, he was doing fine, and the next thing I know, he's up under this New Jersey woman who I'm just meeting, and I'm like, what is it that she has that I don't have? And so, she's rubbing him on the back of his head, and, he's giving her all of his love. And I said, that's what it is right there. It's a double gift. The child knows that mother has this gift, and mother has enough to go around. It's a double gift, and it's just like the children, they matriculate to, they're drawn to some individuals because they have that motherly instinct. And I submit to you, beloved, that it is a gift from God. Mother is one of the highest and most profound honors to be bestowed upon a female parent. Mother's love is the ultimate sacrifice, for she gives everything she has for her children. Mother's sacrifice is never ending, but her love is never fading. Mother's sacrifice is not just in what she gives up, but also in what she silently endures for her children. Every mother's goal and endeavor is that child will come to a place in life whereas they can fend for themselves in a holistic way, spiritually, mindfully, and also in the soul. It is a wonderful thing to have resources that one can share with the child. But really, the greatest thought is that child will come to a place where that child will have his or her own. It is a double honor that really satisfies the promise. The command to honor our father and mother is important to God, and it must hold a high countenance in our hearts. The relationship with our parents and our mothers is significant as it is exemplified in the first relationship addressed in the commandments here in this 20th chapter of Exodus. The commandment does not have a negative prohibition against certain behaviors as seen in the other commandments, but it has a godly promise that if one will endeavor to bestow honor, the kind of honor that I'm speaking of, then I am going to crown them and reward them with long life. If one is to humble themselves, then I'm going to bring about a quality of life. Now, it is a tremendous thought that all of us would honor our parents, but what do you do when you don't have the kind of parents that require honor? Hope I'm not in this building all by myself, because everybody is not able to really fully celebrate this moment because of past rejections, past hurts, and past memories, and they don't exactly. I was at a funeral just this week, Friday, and for a mother, and I was thinking in terms that her adult children will deal with the grief of mother every Mother's Day. And so Mother's Day is not a great memory for all who are under the sound of my voice. And so I only get an opportunity to speak to those that can hear me. And so what I want to say to us is that we can help our children obey the commandments of God and be productive kingdom citizens. We as the parents can help the children. We can help the children by living a respectable life and keeping our God-given role as parents and not friends. I wish I could get a witness here. It's a double honor that satisfies the promise. It's a double honor here that really satisfies the promise. The motherly influence is something else. Look at somebody and say, the motherly influence is something else. See, y'all don't believe that, but mothers have a influence. Look around and you can nudge somebody and ask them why are you here? But they're here because of mother. Mother spoke a word or pointed a finger and said, listen, we'll see you at Christian home Sunday morning. And I don't care if they had a tea time Elder Wynn at Pinehurst. They were going to be here this morning to honor Mother, simply because Mother said, I want you to be in the number. I want the best for you, and I want you to come and share with me at the moment when I'm in my glory. I'm going to be in the worship on Sunday morning. That's my priority of worship, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. And you could just join me for a moment there in the worship. It's a motherly influence. It's a great thought, and we should give much thought to being the kind of mothers and fathers that children can honor, because really they don't really want our approval for certain things. They don't really want that. They want us to walk with them in a sense of honor. Now, the millennials, they like a lot of affirmation, and they get that on Facebook, likes, and and if I don't get liked, and I'm about to jump off of a bridge. But the mother can just rub that kid on the back of the head, or just speak a kind word that, listen, Junior, I'm proud of you. Susie, you did a great job, and Sister Kimberly, I don't care what you're able to achieve or to accomplish. If mother is not there to give a stamp of approval, doesn't mean a whole lot. But when mother is there to give that stamp of approval, it means so much more. Now, we cannot necessarily, as parents, most of us are imperfect, and the children are imperfect. And so we really are not able to control what a child will do and how they will turn out. But I want to tell us that we don't get to choose who is our family. They are still that. Listen, that's still my boy. That's mama talking. And we've seen mama from the cradle to the grave. We saw Mary just a few weeks ago as she was standing there at the cross of Jesus Christ, and they were piercing him in his side, and they placed a crown of thorns on his head. And not one time did she get in the face of a Roman soldier and swag her eyes and hips. But she stood there very gracefully because she had this gift deep down inside of her. And he stopped dying for just a few minutes, and he looks to John and said, "John, behold my mother." In other words, take care of my mother. We're going to get through this, but I want you to honor my mother in my absence, because this is a double honor that will satisfy the promise. This is a double honor that will satisfy the promise. Now, in my first point, and I'm talking to mothers and children, because it's a double honor. It's reciprocal. You want to be respected, but you gotta respect. You want to be honored, but you gotta honor. All right, and so it's a two-way thing. Now, Proverbs, the 22nd chapter. I'm starting at the first verse, but I'm trying to get to the 5th verse. And my point here is, train a child in the way that it should go. That's just basic. That's all you're going to get here, basic. Just basic. We're trying to get back to the foundation. Train a child in the way that it should go. Now, Proverbs 22 says, a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Rich and poor both have this in common. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man sees danger and takes refuge. But the simple, y'all see that? Simple man, yes, keep going and suffer for it. Humility and fear of the Lord bring wealth and honor and life. This 5th verse says, in the paths of the wicked lie thorns and snares, but he who guards his soul stays far from them. And then that 6th verse says, train a child in the way that it should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it. Now, this means simply what it says, that as parents, if we are to train, if we keep training, so we have stopped training, y'all. This is a double kind of honor that satisfies the promise. If we really want to get the end result that we are looking for, we've got to get back in a state of readiness. We have stopped training. All right, and this book says to train a child in the way that it should go, and when it is mature or old, he will not depart from this. Now, that means that he won't do some things that that you do not approve of. But he will still know that you have a standard. It doesn't mean, Deacon Lisa McClain, that he won't have a refrigerator, and his refrigerator will have some beverages in it that are not certified to be in your refrigerator, but that's his refrigerator and is under his roof. And thank God, Brother Steve, that he got his roof. You know, yeah. And so that's when you really become a man, and you can put away childish things. And so that's a whole nother stand-up. But see, when you come to visit GPAR, you know, and listen, none of us are perfect. You know, my dad from time to time he would have a beer, and he would go out and do different things. But I can tell you, listen, he would never make the mistake to put a beer in my mama's refrigerator. See, we have stopped training, and we don't have standards, and mothers have lowered the banner of Jehovah Nissi, and they're afraid that they won't be friended. And so they reduced themselves, they gave up their title as mother, which was the highest title, the highest honor, to just being a Facebook friend. Yeah, just being a Facebook friend. Now, let me hasten on as we are dealing with this training. We've been waiting for the government to put prayer back in the school. But I'm a little bit ahead of y'all, and I'm a little bit ahead of the government. Because what I decided to do, y'all know 3 years ago, I came to you all and I pleaded with you, and I said, please don't let nobody leave your house in the morning without praying over them. All right? I said it. And so that means that you got to be praying, and you got to be versed in prayer. And so you pray over everybody before they rush out and get in traffic and have to deal with road rage demons and all of that kind of stuff, and guns and knives and stuff. All you got to do is pray over them before they go. And so I decided that, listen, I would teach Khalid the words of prayer. And so I taught Khalid the words of prayer. And Khalid has a prayer. You know, I have prayers, but I have Khalid's prayers too. And so, you know, Khalid's prayer is about this long, and it's got several folk that he got to pray for, and things that, you know, he's got to ask the Lord to make him a leader and not a follower, and to have his listening ears open and his observing eyes on, and his willing mind working, and he has to bind predators and active shooters and anyone that will do him harm that day. And he's got to pray for all the counselors and the teachers, and he got a lot of people that he's got to pray for. And I just make sure now that he goes through the prayer. I've recited it so many times that I know it by heart. And listen, Sister Donna has this mentor over here, and so I got Khalid, and he can pray that whole prayer. You think they're not listening, but he can pray that whole prayer. So Khalid, say your prayers, and he does it. And so that's the moment that we put prayer back into the school. See, we can send our children to school instant with prayer, all right? And prayer will be back in the school, all right? And so that's the thing that we've got to work on. Now, it takes some discipline to do that. It takes some reminding ourselves to do the right thing even when it's unpopular. All right? Now, let's look at Hebrews 12. Hebrews 12 and 11. Let's see what it says here. It says that no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness. See that? And peace for those who have been trained by it. Therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. And what lets me know that is that some individuals will receive good training, but they will not walk in it. All right? They will know all about what must be done, but they will not have the discipline to execute it and to do it themselves. See, this is that motherly love. I told you to do so and so. All right? And listen, no questions asked. I had a moment, Sister Greene, I was already an adult man, some 20 years old, and I was living in the city of Raleigh. Aletha's my aunt, and she knows this. And I made the mistake to tell my mom that I was going to move in with my girlfriend. I'm 20 years old. I'm Elder Tyson. I know you said Nard Tyson is dead, but but listen, I'm grown as I will ever be, Sister Tasha, and I just, because mother's mother, I just thought I would run something by her, Deacon Clay. And so she told me, she said, listen, you are not moving in with nobody. And if you mention that to me again, I'm going to hit you in your mouth. This is a 20-year-old man. Yeah. And guess what? Guess what my testimony is today? Is that, listen, I always had my own roof. I never lived with a woman out of wedlock because my mama told me that I wasn't going to do it. See, I got quiet in here, but I'm just talking about this double honor, this motherly influence. The children will do exactly what you tell them to do. All right, because you have the motherly influence, and there's some others here may not even have biological children, but you have this motherly influence, and it's a double honor. It's a double honor. And so we've got to go back to training. Secondly, I want to say to us, honor is birthed out of discipline. Look at Proverbs 12 and 1. Proverbs 12 and 1 says, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. Right there in the scripture. Now, I didn't call anybody stupid, but the scripture says that if you despise reproof, if you despise correction, see when you know friends don't let friends, all right, and so if friends don't let friends drive, why will friends let friends go to hell and not tell them? Not tell them that listen, you're making a mess. The road that you're traveling is a one-way street. See, mothers have that double honor and the ability to redirect at any moment. Mother just got to make sure that she's traveling on the right path herself. All right? Now, he goes further here to say in Proverbs 13 and 24, I want you to see that. Whoever spares the rod hates his son. But he who loves him is diligent to discipline here. Now, we're living in a whole different season now where there's not a lot of discipline going on. And fortunately, I'm from a whole nother culture, Mother Dilly. I would have to sit on the pew that you're sitting on right there, and these graduated mothers, they sat on the second pew there. And now, when I arrived at church, my mother was there, my grandmother was there, neither one of them was in charge, and so then there's this group of mothers that have these deep voices like men, and they sat on the second pew. And boy, I'm telling you, Sister Bob Pearson, if you got your head halfway turned around to that second pew, somebody would pop it and you turn back around. And listen, you had a whole different kind of kidneys then. These kidneys that we had, they only work between Sunday school and preaching. And at no other time would you wouldn't even think about, at least I know I'm telling you the truth, you would not think about getting out of your seat. Nobody had ADHD or any of that because yes, I'm just telling you the truth. No, none of that. You know, you would sit quietly right there in your seat because you got Big Mama, then you got your grandmama, and then you got your little mama, and she ain't in charge of nothing. And she definitely ain't gonna say you ain't gonna put your hand on my child, because that child belongs to 3 levels of mothers, and they are making sure that child gets everything that he needs to get while he is in the worship. And you would honor the sanctuary, you would walk in the sanctuary. Listen, you would never think about even getting into a gallop in the sanctuary. And you would rather tangle with the North Carolina Highway Patrol than to get pulled over after 11 o'clock. Steve, you know I'm telling the truth, in this sanctuary. Because those mothers, they will turn you every which way but loose. I wish I could get a witness. I wish I could get a witness. See, and I'm still here, Marcia. I'm still here. I'm still here. I've had a lot of whelps on my back. Oh my! I've been mauled in the mouth, but I'm still here. And I used to hear them say it was good from my dear mother, and it's good enough. It's good enough for me. All right, now let me hasten on here as we're talking about honor being birthed out of discipline. You know, honor is birthed out of discipline, and so we've got to begin quickly again to use our sword. And most folks don't even know what I'm talking about when I begin to talk about the sword. But the sword is a spiritual weapon only used in spiritual warfare. Paul says in Ephesians that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities and various figments of imagination in the high places. And so we've got to put down the gun and pick up the sword of the Spirit. We've got to pray in the Spirit on all occasions. We have the ability to bind some things. We have the ability ability to loose some things. We have the ability to redirect some things. We have the ability to have power and authority that we have not imagined. We've got to use our sword. This sword symbolizes power and protection, authority and strength, courage. Metaphysically, it represents discrimination of the penetrating power of the intellect. In other words, through this sword, severing some things in the atmosphere, our children can think clearly, and they can have a sound mind, and they can function absent of anxiety and suicidal ideation. You got to pray in the Spirit on all occasions. Ephesians 6:17 says that you ought to take the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. We've got to put some Word inside of our children. If we will take on the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, Paul lets us know that we will be able to take our stand against the devil's schemes. Honor is birthed in discipline. Now, I'm getting ready to make my way to my seat, but Mother is living long and leaving a legacy. Now, if you're going to live, you ought to leave a legacy, and you ought to, the legacy is the greatness. It is the glamour. It is the things that you have stood for, the things that you have done, the things that you have accomplished, and you've passed it on to the next generation. What is it that you really want to be remembered for? Your unconditional love, your steadfast faith, the fact that you are a strong black woman, and you stood the test of time, and you gave your children the very best of your service. And there were even times when you didn't have for yourself, but you gave to the children because you wanted them to have the very best and to be exposed to the best that there was. So you're living long and you're leaving a legacy. I hope that you're thinking about the legacy that you're leaving, because at some point you're going to be reminded of the legacy that you're leaving. It is a sad commentary for mothers to have retired from their posts. And I'm seeing this as I'm meddling and leaving. I'm seeing this so much in the Church of Jesus Christ. Mothers that have been placed on the mother's board, they have left it to the pastor to tell folk what to wear. Lord, help my life. I'm closing now. Yeah. The pastor should never, Sister Kimberly, have to police folk that are not attired properly. That's the mother's responsibility. I wish Mother Davis would come back, Deacon Chuck, and she would testify and help me in this moment. We become too casual about what we are doing. We don't serve a casual God. You see, he was dressed up and he woke us up early this morning. Started us on our way. Didn't have to do it, but he did. And so we are living long a legacy, and we want God to be pleased with the length of our life. When we come to the golden gate, we want to hear his voice saying, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Now, enter now into the joy of the Lord. And I'm going to make you ruler over many. Now, it is a double honor. I'm closing. I promise you I'm closing now. I'm closing with a letter that I ran across the other day. And it's from a convicted felon who writing to his mother. In a few minutes, they are going to execute him for the wrong that he has done. And he, as a last wish and testament, he asks the chaplain for pencil and paper. And I want y'all to know that I wish I could finish this letter for him, because they executed him before he could finish this letter. And you got to see into it, but he writes part of this to his mother. And he says, Mother, if there was more justice in the world, we would both be here tonight and executed at the same time. He said, because you just as guilty as I am. He said, do you remember when I stole the bicycle and brought it home from my neighbor? You helped me hide it. And my father, he never saw it. He said, do you remember when I stole the neighbor's wallet? You went with me to the mall, and you helped me spend it. And see, the other part of that he didn't say is that you knew I wasn't working nowhere. You know, I was driving a big car, and I was living under your roof, and you were giving me the head nod. You knew where all that money was. You know I wasn't working nowhere. You knew where that money was coming from, but you went to help me spend it. Do you remember when I argued with my father? He just wanted to correct me because I stole the final result of the competition. And for that, I had been expelled. See, this was a progression. I didn't get to death row overnight. It was a progression. And you ignored. You never corrected me. And even when individuals pointed me out, you would say things like, not my boy. My boy would never do anything like that. But Mother, if there were more justice in the world, we would both be executed tonight, because you are just as guilty as I am. And Mom, I was just a child, and I grew into a troubled teenager, and now I'm a criminal waiting for execution. And he says, I just needed correction and not approval. I'm suggesting to us that our children need correction and not approval. And we too concerned about, listen, what they're going to think about us, what they're going to say about us. See, that's how I became a bad guy. Because, see, I'm not trying to be friends with anybody. I'm trying to lead folk to heaven. And so when I see them in their wrong, I won't go over there and join them. You know, and that's as parents and mothers and fathers and guardians and leaders, we've got to put down the gun and pick up the sword of the Spirit. This son says, I needed correction and not approval. And he said, I just wanted to write this letter that it would have the greatest assimilation and that it would reach parents all over the world. He says, really, it is somewhat education that discerns between whether a person will feel good or bad about themselves. He says, thank you, Mother, for giving me life, but also helping me lose it. He signs this, your child offender. That's a tremendous declaration that a son would write to his mother. And so if he was to continue this letter on the second level, because in this text of Exodus, it is a double honor. It is not just spirit, but it is mindful as well. And one has to honor both in order to receive the crown. One has to finish all the classes, Corey, if they're going to graduate. If you come one course short, then it's an incomplete, and you don't receive the crown. And so here is a son, and I can hear him saying, Mom, if you would have introduced me to Jesus Christ, you know, if you would have, when I stole the first bicycle. See, I had a mom that wouldn't as much let me bring a marble home. If I had those little cars, if I had one of those little cars and I brought it, she said, well, whose car is that? It's Ray's. Take it back to Ray and give it to Ray and let Ray keep it because it's not yours. Yeah. You know, if I had shown up with a whole bicycle, you know, she would have simply said, listen, whose bicycle is that? If I had 10 cents more than she gave me, we didn't have them all, so it wasn't an option of going to the mall. But I could go to the country store. You know, where'd you get that from? Piece of candy. Got it from Shatana, but give it back to Shatana. I don't know nothing about Shatana. You know, that's mom. You know, over all the business. And I could just see this young man saying, if you had just pointed me, you know that mother's influence that I was talking about earlier? You know, that's why everybody here today, because mama said be here. And so if mama said be in heaven, if mama said confess your life, if mama said, listen, give the Lord some of your time, You know, Eric, I'm not just pastor at the Christian Home Christian Church. I'm pastor at that container site that I go to. You know, and I don't know now. Sister Kimberly, I was told they had a meeting the other day. The board at the container site. When I drove up there, they said, Pastor, we want to talk to you. And I said, all right, I'm all for that. They said, listen, we've been talking, and we're gonna be at Christian Home some Sundays. That's what they told me. That's, you know, I don't know if it's true, Eric, but that's what they told me. That's what they told me. You see what I'm talking about? And so we have a tremendous influence, and we got to use our influence. You know, we've got to take our stand. We got to put down the gun. And see, I can use the sword even when I'm sleeping. I have visions and epiphanies, and I can lift that sword into spiritual warfare. I can have authority. I can walk in protection and provision. And even when there are things that are going on that I don't necessarily agree with, you know, if Mama wouldn't let me shack up with anybody, I wouldn't be too keen about nobody else shacking up with nobody. But you know, sometimes kids do what they want to do, right? And it don't stop you from loving them. But listen, you can wave that sword every once in a while. Listen, you can sprinkle that oil every once in a while. Listen, you can put them on the Christian Home Christian Church prayer line. And I guarantee you prayer will go up Wednesday, it will go up Friday, and it will go up Saturday morning. And if nobody else knows it, Mother Beverly Washington will tell you it works. Yeah, it works. And so I encourage you to pick up the sword. It is a double honor. We're resting on our feet. There might be one among us